the ocean.
It's the sound of one corn clapping. Finally, I have been planted in the good earth. I return to the soil. What an extraordinary day, right? To be present with each other in person and online in the widening circles. You know, it's such a feast, and it takes time to digest, and also it takes time to really rest after having a day like today, whether you were with us in person or in the wider community. So Melissa and I are hoping that we can have an hour together here to just receive your questions or your insights, anything that you would like to bring up, anything that rose up from this ancient land for you today. It could be a question, it could be just something from your own experience, anything that you'd like to offer. And we very much want to hear from our wider Sangha community. Been so patient and deep. How should we go, Melissa? What do you think? What's the best circle?
It was such a beautiful, full, rich day and morning, and our time together planting life from all the teachings yesterday. We know, just like Troy shared with us, water needs to absorb before it can move on. And so just to take some time with you all to absorb the teachings and to metabolize the teachings and the experiences of planting those ancient seeds, warm hand to warm hand from Roxanne Swensel and Alonzo and from all the directions. What a gift. What a joy to do with you all, and getting sweaty and dirty on the ground and with the children and the elders. It was really embodying the wisdom of indigenous food systems so beautifully. And we know it was a lot of information, a lot of stories, some good work. And we want to hear what's on your mind, your heart mind.
We promised to review the guidelines for honorable harvest. So perhaps we could just read them as Roshi and Melissa did earlier, and you could listen, and just to help us arrive. Not that we have to have commentary or reflection on those teachings particularly, but it is respectful to begin a session with these deep teachings. So.
And as Robin even said, that she didn't come up with these, right? She merely compiled them from listening to her elders and elders across Turtle Island, what we often call our original instructions. So these are adaptable, they're evolving, they're fresh, they're also ancient wisdom. And all cultures have certain tenets like this from all around the world. So I would encourage you also to think of your own principles of honorable harvest and see how you resonate with these various ones. You want to start?
Know the ways of the ones who take care of you, so that you may take care of them.
Introduce yourself. Be accountable as the one who comes asking for life.
Ask permission before taking, and then abide by the answer.
Never take the first, never take the last.
Please take only what you need.
Take only that which is given.
And never take more than half. Leave some for others.
Harvest in a way that minimizes harm.
Be respectful. Never waste what you have received.
Share.
Give thanks for what you have been given.
Give a gift in reciprocity for what you have received.
Sustain the ones who sustain you, and the earth will last forever. We can read that together.
Sustain the ones who sustain you, and the earth will last forever.
But perhaps let's hear what our colleagues in the online community would like to bring up. We had the gift of being together, and to hear from them would be a real offering. And Kodo can help us recognize anyone who'd like to speak.
Karen, we would love to hear you speak.
Yes, hi. I am trying to follow the most harmless ways of growing things. And somewhere I just got the recommendation of using scraps of sheep's wool, that are cut off when you grade the fleeces, as mulch and as water holding materials to put underneath the plants. And I'm wondering if that's possibly something that would have been used long ago when there were more sheep. It seems to hold water. I mean, it seems to be a good mulch so far, but I'm just wondering about maybe the history of it.
I'm sorry not to be familiar with this form of mulching, but in these times of hotter, drier life, the real guidelines come from core communities like the Tewa world. How do you actually sustain and hold water in the land? And you saw us today mulching with straw, with a soft layer. So it's so important to disturb the soil in the least possible way. And we tried to do that today. And then to open the ground and respectfully cover it. So however you can best do that, that is a wonderful and important guideline. We're drawing on how to grow food in a hotter, drier time from our teacher, Gary Paul Nabham, and the working in the Sonoran Desert and other deserts. Sonoran, I'm not sure. But anyway, yes. So mulching is essential, protecting the ground and covering the ground. Yeah, good work.
And for deeper wisdom in terms of relationship to sheep, the Navajo, the Diné, have a very long and deep relationship with the churro sheep. And they have been working with those beautiful animals as their relatives and helping with their agriculture. So you may find some teachings or wisdom from the Navajo Nation and their beautiful relationship with corn, many different beautiful plants in the ancient land, but also with the churro sheep that predates Spanish colonialism. They had relationship with the mountain sheep and others, even though it's often said that the sheep came with the Spanish. The Diné dispute that and have long teachings about their relationship with mountain sheep and other animals. So thank you for your question.
Thank you for your response.
Julia?
Julia?
Yeah, I'm trying to unmute. Oh, there we are.
Welcome.
After you read the Honorable Harvest, what I recognized in a way of summarizing in a short way is how much you all embodied it with each other for the last few days. So much respect and love was shared between all of you. I just felt I felt so much joy in being able to watch, to listen, to write down, to also share already some of what you have given. And yeah, I can't say how blessed I feel to be able to have watched this, even online. I just can't even imagine what it was like to be there, because my heart is overflowing with all that you've shared. So blessings to all of you. Thank you so much. You've given me so much hope. Thank you. Thank you.
If I may just say how equally and cognitively grateful we are for the wider community holding us. You were really present with us. Many in this room have been in your midst and in your circle and behind the screen and feeling the kind of gratitude you're expressing. And particularly as we open up more, the gratitude for Zoom and what's been possible through a community like this community, through Kodo, really everyone, we've all day today, Kodo, carrying the camera, Kodo, plant truth. And you know, I also want to say you rarely see him doing the work that he does today. Kodo and Kozan and Dainin Wendy Lau planted a beautiful tree to honor Sensei Al Kaznak in the ground in the old garden, in fresh soil in the old garden. And none of that's on camera because the camera is planting, the camera is digging. And so the intimacy that runs through our appreciation for you, Kodo, is immense. You and Bonnie both. And really want to say that. Thank you for making this intimacy possible. I'm sorry to be on mic when we were saying, no, don't plant it there. You want to do. You heard a lot of our internal dialogue today, online community, but hopefully nothing to hide.
That's right.
It's all revealed.
And Kodo's beautiful daughter was such a key part of the ceremony. So by extension, you are planting.
Laura. Oh, Laura, I'm going to unmute you. Okay, go ahead.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you. This is something like an observation. This morning, to watch it, being several hundred miles away from where the garden was going in, and it was wonderful to watch it and to remember when I was there in 2019 for Planting Life, and so much appreciation for it. But this rather peculiar position of being online, of looking online. But then there came the moment when everyone was in the garden and bowed to the four directions. And all of a sudden, everything just fell into place because there's north and south and east and west and center here. So I got up and bowed to them here and all the qualities and everything. And so I just thought how the four directions and the center are the very loom of this world and of our presence in it. So I just wanted to say that, and thank you so much. And suddenly there was something more than Zoom and more than being 100 miles away and sort of being a spectator in this wonderful participation. So thank you so much. That's all.
Thank you, Laura.
It's very thorough, very appreciated.
Eden, I'm unmuting you.
Thank you so much. So good to see you, Kay Nelson, and you, dear Wendy Johnson. And I want to honor also, just bow to everything that was said by the participants on Zoom prior to me. I just felt so much resonance with their sharing and their gratitude and their honoring of the four directions and the like. So thank you. I entered this circle, we could say, yesterday afternoon as I worked earlier in the day, and I was immediately touched, I think, to my heart of hearts, by the culture that I was entering, recognizing it as what is the deepest of my being. I'm European based, and yet the native culture is what has brought me here. And so my Zen teachers, were just reminding us of an admonition, which is focus on your practice. And it was so timely for me to receive that gift. And I just jumped into joining you for this weekend, and such gratitude and appreciation for everything that was shared. And I had wondered, what's it going to be like to have to spend the morning in the garden hundreds of miles away? And it was so easy. It was so beautifully done. The cameras, the sound for the most part was extremely well kept coming through. I was tired afterwards, as if I had done a lot of digging. So yes to the digestion, and yes to the resting. And, I'm here in a little place in Petaluma that Wendy knows about, at Terra Firma Farm, and I'm just establishing myself in the garden. And everything that is said, Roshi's mentioning that rosemary is planted at the entrance of the garden, and I just planted one close to the entrance of my garden. And the sense that how am I going to embody these powerful, beautiful, real teachings? And I just felt that I can bring that wisdom forth through my body and through my spirit and heart. And I felt that I had so much more respect for myself, for my life as an elder, as a woman, as a human being, someone who cares deeply for Mother Earth and for the indigenous wisdom that is shared with us. So I just thank you and bow deeply to the teachings that you've brought us, and to all the participants. Thank you so much, with deep appreciation and respect. And blessed be. There may be one more thing about blood, which I think is important to mention. When I was hearing Alonso this morning talking about the men piercing their penis to put the blood, the life force of the blood, in the fields, in the goddess's way, woman's blood, woman's menstrual blood, is known to be the only blood that is shed without any violence having occurred. And so in the deep woman's way, the menstrual blood is totally sacred. And I am beyond those years, but I'm passing it on to you, my sisters and brothers, so that you too may consider that and perhaps pass it on to younger women. Aho.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Eden. Amber, I'm unmuting you. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Eden, for that. And I just echo the gratitude for everyone who has been involved in bringing this to us, and which is everyone throughout space and time and forever, forwards and backwards. I've learned so much, and in the deepest essence of my being. Yeah, there's such a longing. I have this longing for going back to somewhere I've never been, and a question of why my ancestors left. why they left the land. It's a very deep grief that I think echoes throughout our culture, my culture, the settler culture, every culture, cultures who have, yes, been separated from who we are. I was so glad today that my youngest daughter joined me to watch the planting. She would love to be there next year.
Aw.
Yes, yes. And I would love to see this garden. I see this garden green right now, even though I know it is not, but it is because time is not linear. Thank you all so very much.
Mm. Thank you for your vulnerability, sharing that longing and that grief that we all carry in different ways. We hear you with that.
Liz.
Thank you. Thank you, Eden. You are my sister from another mother. Blessed be. Thank you for what you said very much. And before I ask my question, I want to just say how wonderful it's been to see a fellow traveler, Julia Kress, who spoke earlier. She and I studied Ayurveda together, and I haven't seen her in years. And I'm so happy to see you, Julia. It's wonderful, wonderful. So my question is a little bit, it's very straightforward. I went out to my garden this afternoon myself, and I wasn't able to hear what happened with the corn. And I was touched by the idea of letting the sun warm the kernels, but I didn't see what happened next. Was it covered, or were the holes left open? I'm really curious.
Well, we did leave the holes open for most of the morning. And when it was time, when we were close to finishing, we respectfully kneeled down and very gently put a light layer, a little bit more than a pinch of soil over most of the holes, and then covered the mounds with very well aerated and well beginning to decompose straw, not hay. Hay contains seeds of continuity, whereas straw is the material that has been the seed has been removed. And especially rice straw, green jade rice straw is very good. So no seeds in the straw that we added to the garden, and the straw is meant to bring air through the fine filaments of the straw and the empty tube of the straw, bring more aeration, following what Alonso was encouraging us to do. So straw to protect, because the ravens are circling. Raven, it's wild and ancient and very determined to continue, and also utterly effective. So we like to cover the straw so as not to cause raven any ill problems by eating all the seed. We protect raven from inclinations that may be there. So we cover the corn mounds with well decomposed straw. And then straw serves as a mulch and also releases some of the water, and especially because it's stable litter, some of it mixed with manure. So there's a good refined addition of manure tea through the straw. It's still very light. Did you notice, dear ones, that we did not tamp at all?
Yes,
today?
I noticed that.
Soil open, breathing, respectfully alive. All of the beds, the amaranth and the tobacco are lying open on the soil, and the rain and the wind and the water will take the seed to its depth, and then it'll find its sovereign place and come forth.
Nice. Well, I was going to ask you next if you gave them a drink, but you did give them the manure tea. So
At the very end, you didn't see, but one of the very dear residents who comes from New Zealand and Maori territory, when everything was finished and everyone was out of the garden, she walked around with a brand new water wand and she wanded all the beds, and she sang a song in the Maori language, a song of prayer.
Very nice.
Just the words.
Te aroha.
So the waiata, which is a song in Te Reo Māori, which is the language of the Māori people, the indigenous people of New Zealand. The song is called Te Aroha, and the words go, Te Aroha, Te Whakapono, Te Rangi Māori e, Tātou Tātou e, which means, it means love, faith, peace be to all. Thank you.
That's beautiful. I also put a comment up because when you were reading the principles off your sheets in the beginning, you were talking about sharing and not taking all and leaving some behind. And I made a comment that in the mountains here in Virginia, they've been over harvested for valuable crops like ginseng. And the rule used to be with the old timers that you always pulled an arm off the man and replanted so there would be a plant. And when the prices went up and buyers were demanding an intact man, the entire root, people quit doing that. So now our mountains are being raped of all the beautiful, beautiful herbs that we had. So that's an important thing to emphasize. So thank you for sharing that widely. And this has been wonderful. Thank you.
I actually would like us to stay with this and to really hear from Melissa about overharvesting and harvesting crops that are at their root and in their deepest being indigenous crops and are nourishing crops and medicine for indigenous people. And I don't mean to distinguish too much, but it is really an important point you're bringing up. One of our teachers who works in the public schools in the Bay Area, her name is Ann Rivetta. She's a magnificent storyteller. She says, before you just step up to the California Bay, to the laurel, which has a gorgeous fruit that is food and medicine in the native world, acknowledge the tree. And she said, and before you take a leaf to make spaghetti sauce or whatever you're going to do, she'd have us pull a hair from the back of our head. It's an incredibly effective way to feel what's happening in this unspoken exchange, not always really agreed upon. So it's fair. It was a wonderful reminder to me to pull a hair out. Melissa, anything you'd like to add?
I think it's so unfortunate that these beautiful plants and animals and mushrooms too, the other kingdom, they become so valuable to people as superfoods or as cash crops and medicines that people can't help but become greedy and overharvest. And how to uproot those roots of that greed, which I know is something the Buddhist community is deeply committed to, looking at the sources of that craving. And our economic system is so based on unlimited, quote, growth and craving and taking without giving back. So it's a daily practice for me to look at those roots within myself and how they've been turned into an economic system. And how do we transform that system so that we truly give back what we take from Mother Earth? How can we rewrite the wrong of decades or centuries of overexploitation? And there is hope with planting the seeds like we did today. There is hope in ecological restoration. There's hope and healing on the land. And so to transform that habit of taking to one of giving and also sacrifice. I love that many elders say, we're going to reclaim that word conservative because we were conservative. The honorable harvest is about conservation. It's about not taking too much, always leaving more for others, sharing. And how do we learn when enough is enough?
Yeah. And even if, as you harvest, when I remember when we practiced in Point Reyes so many seasons ago with Robin Kimmerer, when Bearding Sweetgrass just came out, we were celebrating the release of her book, and she spent one night in conversation about the writing, and then a full day in dialogue and community with us. Melissa and I were present, and we talked especially about her practice of when you receive a gift. I want to read it properly. Give a gift in reciprocity for what you have received. So it might even mean that if you're harvesting ginseng or even ginger or any crop that can be divided, the gift you can give back to the ground is taking an offset, taking a piece of the root and returning it to the ground so that you do not ever leave the ground bare. Of the beautiful harvest. Melissa began her presentation for the Varela Symposium by talking about being a berry person, being clear about sharing a piece of the berry plant or taking a runner from the strawberry and letting the plant continue. Even from the plant itself is a reciprocal gift of continuity. So don't take it all. It's a blending of the different guidelines. Don't take it all. Don't take more than half. Return a gift. These are basic, primal, courteous, and absolutely central practices in the world of horticulture, and also continuity and regenerative agriculture. And the most ancient form of propagation is asexual propagation, taking a piece of the plant. We think, seed is sacred. Yes. But even more ancient is a root, a joint, a limb, a knuckle, a knob,
corm, yes.
a corm, a cormlet,
a tuber,
a bulbul, and taking them and scratching open the ground. And Dr. Robin does this. She scratches open the ground, returns, thanks the plant for the gift, and then proceeds away to share the gift so that the ground is more deeply prepared and encircled. And the gift continues to spread, radiates out in widening circles. So we're not speaking metaphorically at all. This is primal teaching.
Another part of the honorable harvest that I learned from the Timbisha-Shoshone, the people of Death Valley, in that harsh desert. If you've ever been there, it's really intense. And they traveled up and down from the valley up into the mountains and the hills, much like the Pueblo people here in seasonal rounds of harvesting. And their pine nuts, their pinyon pine is like gold to harvest those. But due to drought, climate change, and a lot of federal agencies consider those trees actually like weeds. So they've been demolishing them, which is very, very sad. But Pauline Estevez, a feisty elder, leader of the Timbisha-Shoshone Nation, she says, even if you know the tree is not going to give any berries or any fruit that year, you still make your annual pilgrimage and you water it and you feed it and you sing to it and you praise it and you bring some offerings, many different medicines to ensure the abundance of that tree. Even if you don't take one seed from it, you always give to those sources of life. That's such a beautiful teaching that is so ingrained in indigenous traditional knowledge. Give, and then something will come back to you. Not take, and then give back as a token of appreciation. So it's real mindset shift.
So I think you catch our drift. Let's continue. Maybe one more comment from the wider community.
Sangha.
But Cloud, A
I
cloud
will-
never
the
dies.
cloud's
So one
on,
more
Got,
comment.
you've got 3 hands up. right?
Okay, good. Let's do that, and then we'll come into the center of the circle here.
Elizabeth. Oh, wait. Yeah. Elizabeth.
Hello. I'm Elizabeth, and I'm here in San Francisco. I think of as being the southern end of Salmon Nation. This is my 2nd year here, and I just can't express my gratitude for being included in the circle. My own people were growers of corn out in Indiana, and on the other side, doctors. And I feel that my mission is to help to bring back a new medicine using food and plants for health and our own empowerment rather than giving it away to someone else. I think that to have healthy food, vibrant food, we have to return to the kinds of settings that we've been circling today, where healthy food engenders healthy brains that have the ability to energize so that we can think the thoughts we need to think to solve the problems of the world. So it's this lovely little circle. And I'm so grateful for the chance to be part of the vitality of this food in this place. The thing that was really coming through for me was not only my own grandmothers being with us in the garden today, but all of the ancestors. I had such a feeling of being filled up by the stories that were being told, the stories that came from the Mayan people and the Pueblo people and all of the ancestors that knew, that had such brilliant minds about how to do this, how to live lightly with our planet, and being able to enter into a world where we have that indigenous knowledge again is so important. It's so important. And so deep gratitude for creating a place where we can tell these stories. I think we're all so longing for this kind of storytelling. So thank you so much. A little giggle to all of you.
Thank you.
Last hand up here is Monica.
Thank you, Kodo. So wonderful to see you, Wendy, and everyone in the Zendo. I have so much to say, but I will follow on the point of the ancestors. This morning, I prepared my altar at home and just wanting to really name how beautiful it is to include our ancestries in this beautiful ceremony and the invitation of all the beautiful indigenous ways of knowing, which gave me permission to invite my ways of knowing. And so one of the ways of knowing that I was taught was to read tarot. And I pulled from my Black Tarot deck. I'm Dominican of African ancestry. And I'll just show a few. Daughter of Baskets, which is about love and familial love. And for me, Upaya is my spiritual family, my spiritual home. So beautiful. Also, Son of Baskets, which is about inviting all the parts of you, of who you are. And that I feel was so beautifully represented in all of the teachings so far. The Star, which literally reads about the end to white supremacy, the end of colonization, and the end of capitalism. And Wendy, I heard you say you were burying white privilege in the ground, and I was like, yes! And the last is a mentor of mine. Thank you for inviting in all the teachers. A mentor of mine of Mayan descent gifted me the Mayan oracle cards. And the one I pulled is the number 5, centro, which means center. And it literally reads, "You are the center. Great wisdom is to be found in you. Be simple. You are always sitting in the center. Be the Zen master centered in beginner's mind." Thank you so much. And love to you all.
Thank you so much, Monica. You are, as you know, present. I can see you sitting in the dark in this room and feel your continuity. And love to you and your family. Thank you for your practice.
Just want to comment that thank you for that. That was so beautiful, and sharing your cards and the number 5 and that orientation, the sacred orientation around the direction, how Cato opened us up with the directions and saying we are always in the center and uncentered. And so the number 5, and then when we were planting the corn in the beautiful mounds, we had the 4 directions represented in the center. So the number 5 again. So you're very tuned in with us, right there with us in the garden.
And if I may, in the completion, planting the heart of squash, 5 seeds is all we had. And each one was precious and contains more seeds. So this is a beautiful gift, that sacred number 5. Thank you, Monica, and everyone else. So let's take a breath, and see, we have about 15 minutes or so before we get to rest and digest. Cato, will you pull a chair up and just come and join us? Be lovely to have you here. Come smush in. Fit between us easily. Enjoy your breathing while we settle in. Great. Anything you'd like to add?
It's just so amazing to see so many people gathered there, eager to plant that garden with us. You know, there's this idea in Zen that you can never bow enough. You know, it's a whole practice really to bow. And I was filled and moved really by that spirit of people just showing up eager to sort of bow with their whole being as we worked together to dance on the earth. That was really something. Yeah, I was really grateful for that.
So this is time for harvest from the core of the temple. If there's anything anyone would like to add, we'll have a more continuous way to express our gratitude and acknowledgement of what's transpired. But right now, what's most alive for you? Anything that you would like to offer or bring up? Please. Wait, Roshi.
Well, I was just curious at lunch. Natalie said, there was a list in the compost, on the top of the compost of things that couldn't go into the compost pile. And you said, oh, no, I even put old shoes in there. So, and then after the list, Natalie named some of the things on the list, and you basically, vetoed the list. And so when Natalie went in and Goldberg and just took the list away, so I've just heard all kinds. Can't put that in the compost pile. It's like some kind of. Anyway, I just would appreciate some clarification. I'm very tired, but right. I was very relieved, actually. I'm into inclusivity. So when you talked about the shoes, I felt, very uplifted here.
Well, if I may, and whether or not I may or not, I'm going to. I'd like to begin, Roshi, just by saying that I have the privilege of living in a humid, fecund environment at sea level. And I am a privileged person to be a guest in Coast Miwok territory in a world that never really had to plant, as Melissa taught us, because of the richness from the ocean and the wind and the rain and the soil and the great abalone kingdom, the great acorn kingdom, and the great kingdom of the salmon. Okay, so then I just want to say, yeah. So I investigated. Right. So I investigated with Ashira, and she told me that sometimes the bread here in New Mexico is so dry when it goes into the compost pile, it never decomposes. And I know that to be true. It becomes like brittle cardboard. So all I said is that compost is based of balance of moist and dry, that balance. So if you have an ingredient that seems like it won't come apart because it becomes too dry, then water it. And my teacher said, water so the world can dry out. Let the world dry out so it can be watered again. Dynamic balance, Roshi, it's dynamic balance, cycles, all of these teachings that we've been paying such attention to from general living systems are absolutely manifest in the compost pile, and all conditioned existence is of the nature to come apart and decay. Therefore, a good, healthy compost pile that's balanced in light and dark, in wet and moist, wet and dry, in carbon and nitrogen, can give rise to a microbial majority that will decompose and change everything. We're talking about positive disintegration. So find a way to incorporate your ingredients. Otherwise, Otherwise, they end up in landfill. They end up creating layers on the earth. So our sacred duty really is to figure out a way to come apart and be recombined. So, in the compost pile that we made on Thursday afternoon or Thursday morning, right at high noon, before the Varela symposium commenced, what a perfect example. We're a little bit more than a week away. It is firing with about 130 degrees of heat. All the microbial thermophiles are taking apart everything we added. Pardon me? 145. Yeah. So now it needs to chill. We need to add a little earth. That's too hot. Because especially in the Southwest, if your dry ingredients are in, which is one reason you asked me to do this, and I am launching here. So, but anyway, if your dry ingredients are in there, remember I mentioned to you at Tassajara, and Natalie confirmed this in a story here in the Southwest. If too many dry ingredients are in a compost pile, it will combust, it will metabolize, and you'll have a fire in your pile. So balance your ingredients with water and air and richness and add everything. Banana peels, wonderful. Potassium for the microbes. Oh yeah, they need that. That's right.
I know.
And then especially when you see little Skyla eating the banana with such gusto, What protected the banana so Skyla could eat it after she planted the blue Hubbard seed? She needs a banana. The banana needs the peel, and the compost wants that peel. So try coffee grounds. You think microbes don't want to be caffeinated? They do. Coffee grounds are wonderful.
Avocado peel.
Okay, so avocado peel, if it's too dry, one thing you can do is chop. And that's sometimes our friends if the materials are too dry, run a lawnmower. Oh, remember Roxanne? What's her favorite tool? Who listened? What's her favorite tool? The flail mower. She's lit up with delight. Melissa and I heard a tribute to the flail mower. We all went over and photographed and bowed to the flail mower. Flail mower cuts up into little pieces. The tinier the piece, the better. The smaller the surface area for microbes to digest. Why do they not like thick, heavy wood chips? Would you like to be a microbe trying to bite into a piece of wood? Generation after, cut it up, make it into sawdust, chop it up, break it up. Burn it, pound it up and let it decompose. Let it return. And now, well, pretty much. I mean, we are careful. One thing I am very careful about, and it was beautiful, Paul, here, because I watched with absolute insatiable appetite as a team of weeders went across the field, and Paul said, you can't have any of it. It's all noxious weed. The pile isn't hot enough to decompose the noxious weed. So if there's not weed or a bindweed or some of those weeds that continue, don't put them in the pile. They go to either the fire or to the woods or to another fate. So you don't want to because plants continue, they're fierce. Yeah, so you don't put poisonous plants in the pile or plants that will continue. Excuse me, I can say it because it's my last name, no Johnson grass. So none of the grasses that have short joints that will grow. But otherwise, I mean, I probably wouldn't put a boot in the compost pile here at Upaya. Yeah. I might, but at the bottom of the pile, it would go through many iterations of the pile. One of Peter's boots. Sorry, but this is. We say we don't proselytize about Zen, but try us on compost. And Roshi knows that. She set me up on this one. Yes, please.
All right. Yes.
Yeah. It's really important. You got it, everybody?
One more
Shira,
thing.
yes.
Yeah, and then here.
Water for the compost pile. So water for the compost pile. Right. When it dries out and it stops raining, can we use all of the buckets from the kitchen?
Yes, this was a radical idea. Some of the water, I would say that a portion of the water that comes, what is the chant for the wastewater? The water with, it's so alliteratively beautiful. The water with which we wash these bowls tastes like ambrosia. I offer it to the various spirits to satisfy them. Om makulasai spaha. That is our practice. So some of the water that comes from the kitchen, I think it's hard when you bring out a full bucket and empty it. So if you could slow that down, Natalie suggested, and she's right, even if it could be tilted into 2 buckets and then gently put on the compost pile. Sometimes keep the buckets out there, tilt the wastewater in there, maybe 1 meal a day, and add it to the compost. And if it's getting too soggy, then the garden team will add more carbon. It's a great way. Save me from myself. Save me, brother.
Thank you.
There's one.
Yes.
Wait one.
Can we do with fruit pits?
They'll all come apart eventually. Okay. And everything is of the nature to decay, to come apart and live again. What? Who worries? I mean, Ellen. I was taught that even if there's a little, that the refined compost that's been sifted, not so good. This man has an absolutely beautiful garden, and it's a little rough. He's got all kinds of roughage on the surface. So that roughage is great in a garden where the soil is thin. Penistaha, your soil. it means to afraid to or confined to sitting. It sits still because it's ready to come apart. It's mineral rich, but it has to have a little variation of ingredients put in. So a little peach pit, it's full of a kernel of life. Imagine it's medicine. In the cancer world, the pit of the peach and the pit of the apricot is medicine. Let it roll in your pile. Who can be upset about a peach pit coming through again?
So I'm just curious, is the rule like if your compost has gone through its whole process and you come out and you've got like whole banana peels or whole avocado, does that mean that you didn't process them enough? Is that
not necessarily? It has nothing to really do with us. It has to do with the different layers of complexity in a pile. So sometimes a banana peel ends up in where the dry mind is there, insulating it from decay. The fecund mind decays and comes apart. Dry mind is best because it doesn't rely on anything. Dry mind is Zen mind, but let's add a little water and see it go through. Positive disintegration. Okay? Yeah. And you'll see the heat, the steam rising up to testify into the sky tonight on this full moon night, rising up. Maybe we'll uncover the pile a little bit after dinner and gather around and just see that steam rising up. Yeah, it's still decomposing, so it's still a little randy, but that's okay. Who isn't when they're coming apart? What else? Melissa, help.
You're in the deep end. I'm gonna let.
Luckily, it's 4:00. Let's go a few more minutes, please.
I just wanted to share 2 comments about what we've just been through the last few days. One is that from one of my spiritual traditions, which is Vedic yoga, a fire ceremony is often followed by a rainstorm. And we had a mini storm this afternoon, which seemed so perfectly beautiful. And I just wanted to appreciate that with everyone, along with what we experienced. And then I wanted to bring something from my daughter, who is a public health professional, who speaks about centering in the margins. And everything we've been doing about centering and bringing voices that are oppressed and or not heard or honored seems like it's part of that practice of centering in the margins. So I just wanted to share that back. Little tiny gifts back for all the thunderous gifts I received. So thank you.
Beautiful. Thank
Kim.
you.
One thing that I was struck by as you were laying out the cornmeal lines was that pattern was a Zia or next thing to it. But it was also the pattern that's used in the oldest gardens we know in the quote unquote dominant culture, the Persian gardens called paradise gardens, were always laid out with the 4 directions and a fountain at the center, representing the upwelling of life, which then ran out in 4 directions. And that's still a common design in Spanish gardens, particularly French gardens.
My garden is like that. Exactly. Yeah. It has a fountain right in the middle of the 4 quadrants.
So with all the greatest respect for the indigenous voices and wisdom that's available there, if we listen, it's really important not to forget that our own tradition, thousands of years back, knows these same things. Before the Industrial Revolution, before even the agricultural revolution, we knew this stuff. Even 100% Norwegian, like I am for my sins, we knew this stuff. Our ancestors did. And that reminds me of a cartoon when you were talking about just the ways that people know things. The cartoon is 2 guys, it's guys, of course, standing at podiums. One is labeled ecologist, one is labeled economist, which, if you know your Latin, come from, or actually Greek, come from the same root. And they're both saying, we're using too much and not saving enough. And the cartoon is titled Irreconcilable Differences.
Oh.
Tom.
Thank you. I just wanted to express my gratitude. I do not have a green thumb. I've thought about having a garden for years and never did it. I've wanted to start a compost pile for years and never did it. And coming here, I felt like I was thrown into the compost pile and welcomed. And today in particular, at every point, I was welcome to help in one way or another with no pressure, but there was always an opening and there was always an opportunity to be of service. And there was so much joy and laughter and playfulness and such hope. Like, as I guess not going on Twitter or social media for 2 days has helped also, but there's so much joy and hope just from this weekend. So I just wanted to express my gratitude, and I look forward to hopping out of the compost pile and being fertile.
Hope you all got to hear a little bit of, I know there was so much joy going around in every quadrant, in the garden, outside the garden, and around. His teachings on, this planting stick, just really something special, how it could be used, how there is no separation really, in that culture, and in some ways in our own culture, if we really look at it, how do we be in harmony? How do we use these directions? The shadow, everything about it is just so utterly perfect right there, just teaching you, helping you be in balance, this balance that you're talking about. Yeah. I was reminded of my grandmother again, and who learned from her mother, my great-grandmother, and this balance idea. And she used to say, tu Domínguez decía, en la iglesia, ni muy adelante, ni muy atrás. In the church, not too much up front and not too far to the back. You don't want to be so close to the front of the altar that you're like some kind of saint or something. And you don't want to be so close to the door that you're like, a heathen. Just in the middle path, right? Our Buddhist teaching is about that, just enough. And everything is, the Buddha himself, right on that river bank, listening to the instructor. If the strings are too tight, when you play them, they will snap. If they are too loose, they will not play. So that struck me throughout too, that dance. How do we do that? Yeah.
Charlie, and then I think if we agree, we'll pass on to some rest before Zazen and come back together tonight. So let's hear what you have to offer, please.
Great, thank you. I think I'd just like to share my process over the last couple of days with you all. I consider myself to be a pretty healthy person, and I eat well, healthy foods, and I like to cook, but I haven't planted anything in the last many years except for a few things in pots. And when I go to get my food, it's laser focused to the farmer's market to find my favorite person who does the lettuces and my other favorite person who does the stone fruit, and I go back and I cook. So it's kind of an adult way to look at things, that you're focused in on something versus, and so I miss a lot of how my food got to where it is that I can use it. In contrast to what's happened here, which is more like how a 2-year-old might look at the world, which is a lantern view, where this is interesting and that's interesting, and look at this. And to hear about our heritage, to see you honoring the heritage foods and the seeds, the three sisters, and then to watch this evolution of the garden from what appeared to be a fallow piece of dirt to the mounds all coming together, and the planting, and then just to watch an 18-month-old who did not know what to do with the seed that you offered. And yet when she saw it being, taught by somebody else putting it in, she immediately took a seed, put it in the ground, and then bowed.
Yeah.
And I was so touched by that moment.
Right.
And to see our responsibility as those of us who are nearing the end of our lives to those who are just beginning their lives, to bring this tender, relationship with the ground in the process of bringing our food to us. So it's been quite a lovely journey. Thank you.
What a perfect way to close. Skyla and Earthla all together.
Mm-hmm.
And did you notice the beauty of how she bent down, and Melissa imitated her? It was so sweet. Go ahead, please. It was so.
Well,
Melissa's.
I love she added a little squat to her bow. We can look a little, and she kind of went. You get a little more exercise, I guess, but it was so cute. It was just, she got closer to the earth. She was just amazing.
Yeah. And she put her hand on Roshi's leg and just watched at the end. It was beautiful. So tonight, we have Zazen at 5:30, and then we have the gift of being able to watch the Pueblo Food Experience, which is a chronicle of Roxanne's, not only Roxanne's, but the work at Santa Clara Pueblo to create or recreate or rediscover, reinvigorate the ancient Pueblo diet. On the altar, on the altar in the kitchen, the hearth altar, is a copy of Roxanne's book. Have a chance to take a look at it. It will be a gift from Melissa to this community. She went to Roxanne's gallery to get that book. And we have every year given this book to the community. And I pray and beg you, please keep it in the community, preferably in the kitchen, because it is a treasure. And you can cook and this book will offer guidelines, but do have a chance to take a peek. And then tonight it's 7:45. We'll watch, that movie will be screened in here in the hall. We can sit and take in. You'll see Roxanne and Porter and their family.
And just a note for the online community, the link is available on the resource page. It's on Vimeo for free. So
good.
We won't be playing that on Zoom. You guys can just watch it on your own.
Thank you, Koto. Yeah. So that'll be tonight, and then we'll slip into noble silence, and the moon will be full tonight, and to walk in the garden.
Tomorrow morning is Fusatsu, the full moon ceremony and renewal of our vows.
So
7 a.m. after Zazen. I mean, yeah.
So again, tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Zazen, sitting practice, and then Fusatsu full moon practice, and then we'll have breakfast and a time to clean and prepare your rooms. And please help me, Koto, so I don't veer off schedule. Is that correct? Yeah. Far.
Yes. So we'll have the Zazen and Fusatsu, and then the online community will meet at 9 a.m. For a closing council, Wendy.
Yes.
And then the in-person community during that time will do Samu, clean the rooms, and then we'll come back together at 11 for our closing council in person.
Good.
Right. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.